Hello, hello. Yay. Welcome to Tarot Speakeasy number 5. Number 5. I was surprised. I thought it was number 4, but I believe it's number 5. So here we go. So the topic for tonight is numbers, numbers, numbers. And as usual, I have too much information. I have 28 slides. The presentation just kept growing. But that's okay. We'll cover what we can. I can always come back and cover other stuff as we go. So hi, Julia. Hi, Julia's here. Yeah, so as we're going through the presentation, if there's something you want to know more about, put it in the comments of the video, not necessarily the chat, because I may or may not see that, and I definitely won't see it later because I'm not going to look at the chat later. But if you put it in the comments that there's something you want to go over more, you want more information on, then that just gives me more topics for us to talk about. So yeah, all right. So we have Julia here. Oh, there's 3 watching now. Great, wonderful. I don't have to hem and haw and try to kill time while waiting for people to show up. Okay, so that is exciting. Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna type in the chat here. Talking about numbers tonight. If you have a question you want the cards to answer, you can type it in the chat or ask your how to throw questions. All right. I don't think you can pin these, can you? Maybe you can. Oh, pin. Oh, good. Okay, I pinned to that message. Now I have to type it again. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. All right, so I think I should share. Can everyone hear me okay? Let me know if you can't hear me or something goes wonky. But I think I'm gonna try to share screen and do the presentation. So let me do that. All right, where did I go? Here we go. Share screen. Here we go. All right, so everybody, hopefully you can see my screen now. We're going to talk, let's talk about numbers. Numbers. Okay, let me take a drink. Like I said at the very, very beginning, this presentation is too long. It's too long, but let's see what we can do. Okay, so numbers in the tarot. Okay, so I just thought I would just talk a little bit about playing cards and tarot cards because they're related. If you've ever seen a deck of playing cards and you've ever seen a deck of tarot cards, you're like, there's something going on here. So playing cards have ace through 10 of 4 suits, which are clubs, spades, hearts, and diamonds. And then they also have a jack, queen, and king of those 4 suits that I just said. And so altogether that makes 52 cards. So you got ace through 10, jack, queen, king of 4 different suits, 52 cards. Tarot cards have ace through 10 of 4 different suits, wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. And then for their court cards, the tarot has an extra court person in there. They have page, knight, queen, and king. So there's an extra one of those. And then there are 22 trump cards, which are also known as the major arcana. So that is how that makes 78 cards for tarot, 52 for playing cards. And so that's how each of those are set up. And so, you know, the whole origin of the playing cards and of the tarot deck shrouded in mystery. So it's shrouded in mystery. And that's why I put this, you know, these guys walking by in front of the pyramids, because nobody really knows how or when the pyramids were built. Just the same way we really don't know. We have some ideas about where playing cards came from. We have some ideas about where tarot cards came from, but nobody really knows. But I think the reason this presentation got so big is because once you start messing around with numbers, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of rabbit holes, and there's a lot of synchronicities and coincidences where you're like, all right, is that just accidental or is that on purpose? And since we really don't know where all this stuff came from, we really can't answer it. We can only speculate, and you can work with it however you need to work with it. So what am I talking about? Like, let me give an example. There's 52 playing cards in the deck, and there's 52 weeks in year. So you can actually use playing cards as a calendar. And it's like, is that an accident? Is that a coincidence? Or did somebody plan it that way? We don't know. We don't know. And then, like I said, with tarot cards, like I was reading this article about something about Metatron's cube, which is a geometric shape, which I have some stuff about sacred geometry in here. And it's like, they were saying, like, if you start with those seeds of life diagram, and if you connect all the different circles or something, you end up with 72 lines. Well, or 78 lines, and there's 78 cards in the tarot deck. Is that a coincidence? We don't know. So that I'm just kind of priming you with questions. A lot of questions in this presentation. Okay, so there are lots of rabbit holes you can go down with, like I said, with this number stuff. And so some of the ideas that I present, like if it's a rabbit hole, I put a rabbit on the slide just so you know that that's a rabbit hole. And the reason I'm telling you that is because I like to help people who are beginning readers learn to read tarot. So I don't want you necessarily, I mean, if you really feel like you want to go down a rabbit hole, go down a rabbit hole. But I'm going to try to keep you from going down rabbit holes and just get a good connection to the cards right off the bat, and then you can explore the rabbit holes and you won't be confused. But if you spend all your time going in and out of rabbit holes, you'll never learn how to read tarot. It'll never come together and make sense for you. So that's the reason for the rabbits and why I'm warning you. So, all right, so let's start here with the ace. Since the aces are kind of a big deal in both the playing cards and in tarot. And then I was just wondering if anybody on this live right now, does anybody read playing cards? Any playing card readers playing? You can put it in the chat if you read playing cards. I have a somewhat of familiarity with it, but I don't really read playing cards. And so I'm just saying that because the ace of spades is known as the death card in playing cards. So I wondered if someone had something to say about that, but if not, that is perfectly fine. Okay, so we're talking about aces, which is basically a 1. And then I have this verb because I'm like, yeah, not everybody's gonna be here. So we gotta ease into this. So we give people time to show up because it's gonna get more exciting, trust me. This is just fun facts. The ace of spades, also known as the spadial and deck card, is traditionally the highest and most valued card in the deck of playing cards in English-speaking countries. The ornate design of the card, common in packs today, stems from the 17th century when James I and later Queen Anne imposed laws requiring the ace of spades to bear an insignia of the printing house. Stamp duty, an idea imported to England by Charles I, was extended to playing cards in 1711 by Queen Anne and lasted until 1960. So there you go. So that's part of the reason that the aces are a big deal in playing cards is because that was actually a stamp that says the tax was paid on it. And the word ace comes from the old French word from Latin as, meaning a unit, from the name of a small Roman coin. It originally meant the side of a die with only one pip before it was a term for a playing card. The ace rose to prominence in 1765 when England began to tax sales of playing cards, and forging an ace was a crime punishable by death. So there you go. Fun facts. Okay. So when my approach here is we're going to look at the numbers in tarot, and we're going to like look at them in different ways of making sets or groups. So I don't know if you remember in elementary school, do you remember making sets, number sets? I mean, you probably didn't do this with integers, natural numbers and all this. This is later. But like, I just remember having these like circles and putting numbers in sets, and different numbers were in this set and they were not in that set. And then sometimes sets would overlap, and that was like a Venn diagram. That's kind of the idea we're going with tonight. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. So we're going to talk about cards with the same number. We're going to talk about even and odd. We're going to talk about multiples of a number. We're going to talk about the sequence, ace through 10, that, you know, that's a linear sequence. And then a little bit of the preview on the rabbit holes is Kabbalah, geometry. And then in purple, I have your own. So I've got like lots of, you know, tips and exercises you can do to like start getting a sense of a number system for yourself. Because, you know, you could look up, like you could look up stuff on numerology sites, and I'm not saying don't do it, but a lot of that is it's bent towards like personality. And so that may not help you in the broader sense of where you're like trying to understand 3, trying to understand 5. Maybe it will, but I'm just saying. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so the first way we had to look at this is you just group everything of the same number together. So in this example, this is the 8 group. So we have the 8 of wands, the 8 of cups, the 8 of swords, the 8 of pentacles, as well as the strength card, which is number 8 of the major arcana, and the star card, because 7 plus 1 is 8. So Mary Kay Greer wrote an entire book about this kind of thing. It's called Tarot Constellations, which is no longer in print, but it is, I believe it's like the newer version of the book that you can get is, I think it's called Who Are You in the Tarot? So it really develops this concept. I'm just kind of touching on this tonight. But she goes in at length with this whole thing of like grouping the cards in constellations. So basically all you need to know is you group all of the cards of the same number, but with the major arcana, you're going to have to reduce anything over 9 by adding the 2 digits together and keep reducing till you get a number between 1 and 9. And in this case, with the way this system works, the Fool is 22, because 21 is the World. That's the last card of the deck. So since the Fool is 0 and you can't do anything with 0, we make it 22 and it's a 4. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you. You know, that's just a minor point. But if you group your cards and you look at them, you know, you could glean something from that. So I was just wondering if anyone has any observations on these 6 cards here. You see any kind of similarities or any threads that tie these together? Just wondering. You can put it in the chat. You see anything of note? Take a sip of water while I'm waiting on you. Oh, I was going to drink some wine. Oh, well, I forgot. Maybe I'll take a break later. Okay, so far, no one is saying anything. Just wondering if you had any observations. I'll put it in the chat. Any observations about the 8 cards? Okay, Julia says the newer version of Tarot Constellations is Archetypal Tarot. Okay, I thought it was called Who Are You in the Tarot, but whatever. It's Mary Kay Greer. You should be able to find it either way. Okay. Okay, so I will say something about this group. one thing that just jumped out at me, and this may, I need to say this too. It's like, this is gonna vary deck by deck. It depends what your deck is, But in this particular case, with this particular deck, there's a lot of solitary people. Like there's no, all these people are alone. They're all alone, solitary people. Something to think about. Does the 8 have something to do with being alone or being solitary, being single? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying it's true or it's not true or whatever, but I'm saying that's an observation. So you can go through with all your other cards and, and group them and be like, oh, is that, what does that look like? What do I think about that? And then of course you can like relate these to yourself through your birthday, but I'm not going to go down that particular rabbit hole right now, but I'm just letting you know there's a lot more you can do with this. So that's one thing. Look at all the cards that are the same number. Okay. Then sequence. Like I said, there's obviously ace through 10 is a sequence, and that's how we always think of things. We think of it as the numbers as building upon one another. So what if we looked at the cards, the ace through 10, as a sequence? And this is a graphic that I made this years ago, and back when I was on social media, it was very popular. So I dug it up and I'm like, oh, we can talk about that. So I made like a little story and a little theme using the wands cards, and this does have the court cards in it. So whether you want to deal with the court cards at this point or not, that's up to you. I did in the other slide, I forgot to point out the reason I had like 11 written next to the page. That is, if you wanted to go ahead and just keep the numbering going through the whole suit and give numbers to the royal cards, then you would make the page 11, the knight 12, the queen 13, and the king 14. If you wanted to do that, you can do that. So this is just, this is like where you look at it, like this is a sequence of events in each of the cards, and you just follow it through and you go, oh, okay, there's a little story happening here. There's a little, thing. And then it's funny, this was the 8 card, which I happened to pick on the other slide. And oh, there's the 8 again. So it's like, I made this into a little passion and strength story about, it starts out here with the birth of an idea. And then this is where we get into action, grab a tiger by the tail and make it happen. And then this is where we have to guard and defend that thing that we created or that we won or whatever. And then this is where we had mastery of it. That was that. I'm going to switch to share. All right, I'm going to switch to the card cam because I've got the swords laid out, and you might be able to see it better than that slide. So let me switch. Let me switch video. All right, yay, card cam. Okay, so here we have card cam, and yeah, so we have here, and just let me know if you can't hear me. I should be on the right microphone, but if you can't hear me, let me know. So here I just kind of grouped the sword cards by 3. So we get 1 through 3, 6 through, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and then there's 10, and I have a court over here. So, you can make a little story about what's happening in this set of cards, and then this set, and then this set. So does anybody have any input or ideas about what might be happening in the cards here? No ideas? No one has any ideas? No ideas. Well, let me see. So we start out with the ace here, where it's like, oh, look at this. There's a sword coming out of the clouds, an idea coming out of nowhere. And then, this whole thing kind of reminds me of the lady in the lake in the, I don't know what the name of that story is, but it's one of those old stories. But this kind of reminds me of the lady, get kind of the lady in the lake field. But this is not going to be an easy journey. Like, if you accept the sword, not an easy journey. You got to go to the church. You got to get blessed or something when you go to the church, and then you got to fight a bunch of people, and then you got to cross like the river Styx or something. You got to get somebody to take kindness upon you and get across a river, and then there's this whole crazy scene where we are at a carnival or something, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And then there's a damsel in distress, and her mom is really worried about her. And then we get to the end of the road here where somebody gives up or something. I don't know. That's just something I was making up off the top of my head, but you get the idea how you might be able to do that. Okay. All right. So moving on. Let me switch. Okay. All right. I'm back. Okay. So no comments so far. Okay. So does anybody have a question in general or a question they want to ask the cards? No questions. Let me see how many people are here. Well, there's only one. It's only me and Julia now. Other people left. Okay, they were like, this is boring, we're leaving. Like I said, it's too much information. Okay, all right, so let me go back to the presentation here. Shares. All right, so moving on from that. Okay, so then another way you can look at the cards is even and odd. That's very simple. So your odd numbers are ace 3, 5, 7, 9. The even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you can think of the odd numbers as active or masculine, and you can think of the even cards as receptive or feminine. So what you end up with is kind of like a rhythm with like active or action, and then reception, action, reception, action, reception, action, reception. So you can play around with that and see how does that land with you. Then you can look at it as in multiples, and so I'm not trying to create any math shock for anybody, but you can do multiples where you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, because okay, so multiples are 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 or 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10. And then the next number is 3, so you can go 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 2 is 9. And then the next number you could do is 5, 5 times 2 is 10. And then you end up with the 7 all alone. Why is the 7 all alone? And why is the 6 on here twice? Things to think about, and like I said, you may be a numbers person or you may not. But if you're a numbers person, you might be like, I wonder about that. Why is that like that? So here, this is a very practical exercise you can do. Think about the numbers and all of the sayings that you know about the numbers. Like here we have 7, lucky 7, 7 days of the week, 7 deadly sins, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7th heaven. What might be in there? You know, what might be in there contained in that, the energy of the number 7 that we can use when we're reading tarot. You know, I don't know. It's up to you. You can ponder that, and then you can do that for all the other numbers. I think I have that. Oh, here we have, I put all the 7s here. So I was like, okay, so what's going on in all these 7 cards? What is happening in all of these 7s? So the 7 is an odd, and it's an active number, right? If we're going to do the even odd thing. So it's an active number. So it's doing something, it's not receiving something. Kind of in the middle of the sequence, right? If we're looking at ace through 10, 7's kind of in the middle, okay? Interesting. The way I kind of see the 7 energy is like, this reminds me of like in the movies when it's like, you know, heroes going along and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it big in Hollywood or whatever. And it's like, and they go to some audition, you know, and it's like against all odds, they get the part, like something, you know, whatever, luck, you know, luck is on their side or fortune smiles on them, some weird thing. They get the part, but then something happens. Like, I don't know, they decide they're not making the movie after all. They lose the funding or something, and then it's like, oh man, I was like just right there going toward my goal, and then now there's an obstacle or there's a loss, and everything goes south. Everything falls apart. That to me is that seven moment, like where you have to pick yourself up from the loss, the disappointment, from things going sideways, from things falling apart, and then you have to keep moving from there. So that to me, and that's where I'm having deja vu right now. That's a 7 energy that I kind of connect with the 7. So like in the 7 of Wands, see, like this guy was like, if we had the cards in front of us, we'd see the 6 was before this, and that's the success card. And then it's like, oh, but now I got to fight everybody off because something happened and now everybody hates me, and I got to defend myself. Or in the case of the cups, the card before this is the 6 of cups. So that's what the little kids holding the cups. And so it's like, it's very innocent and sweet and pleasant and idyllic. But then it's like, then it goes over the line to like debauchery and confusion. It's just like, oh, wow, it's like too much pleasure, too much of a good thing. Now I'm lost in all of this. And then with the Pentacles, with the 6 of Pentacles, it's like, yeah, we got kind of an even Steven thing, like, but now it's just like, no, now the prosperity has been cordoned off. It's been, the spigot's turned off on it. And then I gotta wait for more opportunities to ripen. And then with the 6, the 6 is the one where we're going in the boat across the river Styx. And so then it's like, okay, so it's kind of like an immigrant landing on the shore with like basically nothing but the clothes on their backs. And so now they got to be crafty to figure out, they got to get up from that low point of nothing and be crafty and get up to something. So these are just suggestions. I'm not saying any of this means anything, but I'm just giving you a way to look at it so that it might start to click and be like, oh, okay. You know, and then for you, it could be something else, you know, and you could look at the fives, you could look at the threes and be like, oh yeah, okay, I see it now. I see it. Okay, and then here I wrote, this is where I was talking about, like, just think about how we use numbers in everyday sayings and all that kind of stuff. So like for one, we have like one trick pony, one and done, two peas in a pod, three, third time is the charm, third, or being a third wheel. Four, four-letter word. Five, take five, five and dime store. Six, six-pack. So you know, you can just kind of like, maybe something will snap with you there if you think about these things. And basically what I'm saying is if you can connect it to something that's already in your brain, then you're going to be able to remember and implement it. So it's just like the same idea I had with like, don't memorize the definitions. Same thing with the numbers. Find a way in. Find a way in that connects with something that's already in your brain. Then you can work with it. Otherwise, you're just trying to memorize somebody else's interpretation. And believe me, with the numbers, you're going to find all kinds of contradictory things. Just like even here, like third time is the charm and third wheel. Well, those are very opposite kind of things. Third time is the charm means like, okay, I'm gonna do it more time, it's gonna happen. Third wheel means it's like, I'm not needed in this situation. So which is it? Which is it? I don't know. I don't know. All right. And so this is kind of what I was saying. You can always change your mind, you know, so just like pick something, go with it. And you can always change your mind or add to it. There is no tarot police. The tarot police don't exist. So whatever, you know, whatever works for you right at the moment, go with it, see what you can do with it. And you can, like, later, you're like, you know, I really thought, you know, this thing was that, but now I don't really think that anymore. Or like I said, you can add to it. So don't go down too many rabbit holes here with this, because you'll just end up confusing yourself. All right, so, okay, I'm getting further along than I thought. So, Julia, if you have a question, let me know. Okay, so next is geometry. So we can take any number 3 or above and make a polygon out of it, right? Which is a many-sided figure. So 1 is just a point. It's just a point, or maybe it's a spiral. I don't know. You know, this is for you people that are like more visual and more spatial. Like this might click for you, rather than all this other like where I'm like, oh, this even and odd, you know, multiplying and dividing. You know, I mean, that might make you kind of crazy. But if you're more spatial and more visual, like this might work for you. So the 1 is the point, maybe a spiral. Two points make a line, right? 3 points make a triangle. 4 points make a square. So just thinking about the numbers alone in this context, you might be able to like figure some stuff out about it. Like, you know, like one, it's a single thing. It's the center of something. You know, two is like, okay, it's 2 points, it makes a line. So I always think of 2 as like, I think of it kind of like a magnet, you know. It's like it's either going to attract or repel depending which side you have pointing wherever, you know. So it's like we have the 2 sides of the magnet. It's like 2 opposite things. But if I brought another magnet, it might repel or it might connect, just depending. 3, we have the triangle. Okay, Julia says she's enjoying the presentation and absorbing the information. Okay, cool. I know, because it's a lot. I don't know why this presentation got so out of control. I really should have picked one thing and just went with it, but I didn't. But later you can tell me what your favorite part was, and then maybe I could expand on that more another time or whatever. Okay, so 3, we have the triangle, you know, so the triangle has some stability to it, you know, and so it's like you have 2 points and then there's like, oh, there's like a third point. So sometimes I think about this, it's like, you know, this can be like love triangles, which can be they can be bad if all the points don't know about each other. But sometimes all the points do know it about each other, and it's like you can bring a third person in that can help, like I said, like this is like a magnet, and so we have two opposite sides. When you bring the third point in, sometimes it can help, it just helps that opposition become something more flowing and more useful. Put it that way. And then 4, we have square. You know, I think in our culture, we're into 4. We know about 4. We know about the stability of 4. We know about 4 walls. We know about creating boundaries with 4. We know about, like I said, the stability with 4 and the support with 4 and the long lastingness of 4. So I don't think I even get it, because I think that's very culturally, we're keyed into that one. 5, we have the pentagram or a pentagon. I didn't put a pentagon on there. So, 5 is where it gets thrown off again. So it's like we have a word that's pretty stable, and then we have something that changes, and that's the 5. Like to me, 5 is always some kind of change. It's just change. So you can think about that however you want. Good change, bad change, welcome change, unwelcome change, surprising change, anticipated change. It's just change. And then we have 6. And then 6 is another one of these where it's kind of in the middle. It's in the middle of the sequence, if you will. And it brings the stability back with the hexagram or the hexagon. And 6 is very organic. Like I feel like you see it a lot in nature. So it's like very organic and symbiotic, the 6. Now, some people say it looks like a pregnant woman, the 6. I mean, you'll find all kinds of things. So that's what I'm saying. Just go out there and discover your own thing, and then you have it. The 7, I went through my whole thing about the 7, where it's kind of like the turning point after a loss, where it's like you have to regroup kind of thing. I put this as the Statue of Liberty because she has a 7-pointed crown, and I couldn't really think of it because I could have put a 7-sided polygon, but you wouldn't see a septagon. Like there's no septagons that we use on a regular basis, so it didn't seem like there was a point to that. But we're used to seeing the Statue of Liberty, so with the 7. And you can research that, like, why is she wearing a 7-pointed crown? What does that mean? The 8, I have the infinity symbol because it looks like an 8 on its side. So how is that related to 8? And then we have 9. I thought for some reason I was just thinking of a scallop shell, and I found a scallop shell that has 9 little parts to it, 9 segments. And then the Enneagram, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, it has the 9 points. It's a 9-sided figure. I don't know what it is, a 9-pointed graphic. I don't know what it is, whatever that is. That's the Enneagram. And then we have the 10, and I put a pendulum because I think if 10 is really it's the end of one cycle and the beginning of the next. So it's this point where, like, when the pendulum swings and it stops for a second in midair, where it swings back the other way. That's kind of how I think of 10. So for what it's worth. So I said another thing you could do to kind of get into this is pick a natural object for each number. Write down your choices. Like 1 is a seed, right? We're starting with 1, and then just go through there. And like I had 9 as a scallop shell, like what's a 3 object in nature? What's a 4 object in nature? A 6 is like the bee honeycomb shape, and just think about it. Something might click there where you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I see it. Okay. And then more practical stuff you can do. What numbers seem to surround you? Like, do you, like, every time you get a new phone number or a new address, like, does it always have like a 7 in it or something? You're like, I knew there was going to be a 7 there because I always have 7 around me, or whatever it is, you know, so phone numbers, addresses, PIN codes, birthdays, you know, what numbers keep showing up in your life. And so maybe you want to start with those first, because maybe there's some kind of affinity there to you and the number. And then you can do this for other people that you know. So do you associate a certain number with a particular person or place? Oh, somebody's here. Oh, okay, spiritual route. Let me check my microphone. Thank you. Oh, that's right, because I'm on screen share. I'm like, why can't I? Let me stop the share for a second. Okay, I'm checking the microphone. All right, is that better? Better? They changed the microphone. Hopefully that's better. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the screen share. Okay. So the same question for other people. Do you associate a certain number with a particular person or place? So like I worked for a lady that she always had 2s around her. And so, you know, a lot of times she would pick the 2. Oh, good spiritual route, it's better. Sometimes she picked the 2s, but I mean, there 2s were, oh, there was an echo. Okay. All right. But anyway, 2s were around somebody that I knew, always with the 2s. Okay. All right. So what numbers do you like, or quote unquote like or dislike, and why? Do you have a lucky number? If you could pick a phone number or address, what would it be? What would that number symbolize? So these are things to consider. All right. Okay. Then this is a bit of a rabbit hole, but I am going to talk about it. There's a book called 36 Secrets by T. Susan Chang. See, and I put user-friendly because it's a very user-friendly book. The subject matter is a rabbit hole, but it's a very good treatment of the subject matter. So let me see what my next. Yeah, so this is the subject matter. See, so rabbit hole warning. This is the Golden Dawn associations. They made these associations with tarot cards. It's based on astrology and Kabbalah. So it's like you look at this and you're like, what the hell is all this stuff? So like I said, I put this slide for Kabbalah because this is kind of the shape of the tree of life, this 10. So it's like the 10 numbers combined with astrology. So just as a brief note for the astrological part, basically what the Golden Dawn did was they assigned all of the astrological signs, you know, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all that, to the major arcana. And so you're like, okay, there's 12 signs and there's 22 major arcana cards. So you're like, there's some left over. and indeed, you are correct. So some of the other ones, the leftover major arcana go to the planets, and then to the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And then basically the numbers 2, 3, and 4 are the cardinal signs in astrology, which are Aries and Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. And then the fixed signs are 5, 6, and 7, and the mutable signs are 8, 9, and 10. So if you're not into astrology, completely ignore that. Completely ignore that. That's a big fat rabbit hole, But if you are into astrology and you totally follow me when I say cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs, maybe you might want to start thinking about it that way. Like all the 2s, 3s, and 4s are cardinal signs, and the 5, 6, 7 are fixed signs, and the 8, 9, 10 are the mutable signs. That I'm just throwing that out there, but don't let that rabbit warning. Don't let it throw you off. Okay, so yeah, so that is the end of the presentation. Okay, so are there any questions about, like I said, about the information, questions you want to ask the cards? Either way, any questions? I will take a sip of water. And how's everybody doing? How is everybody? Why don't we pull a card for the evening and we can start there. Like, so hopefully you have your decks with you at the moment and you can pull a card and just put in the chat what you pulled. So I'm shuffling my cards tonight. I have a black and white tarot deck tonight. And I picked it because the numbered cards actually do not have pictures on them. And I thought since we were working with the numbers, it would make it more clear that way, not to have the pictures that would distract. Julia says, is the rabbit hole to start blending tarot and astrology? Yeah, that's part of the rabbit hole. That's only part of it too. But like I said, that book, despite the fact that whole subject matter is a rabbit hole, the way she treats it in the book, it's very user friendly. Like I keep it by my table, like when I do my daily draw every day. And sometimes I would pick it up. Like if I pull the 3 of Swords or something, I'll pick up that book and see what she has to say about it. So in the first part, she'll just do like a general description and just like note things on the card or point things out about it or whatever. And then she'll go into the Kabbalah thing, which I completely ignore. I'm going to be honest. I just ignore it because I'm just not doing that rabbit hole right now. And I haven't done it in the past. I don't know when I'm going to do that rabbit hole, if ever, but so I ignore the Kabbalah stuff. Then when she does the astrology part, I will pay attention to that. And then at the very end, she'll say every day, and then whatever the card is. So like in my example, be every day 3 of Swords. And then because she keeps meticulous records of everything that she's pulled over years and years. And she'll be like, oh, when I pull this card, like these kind of things have happened. Like, I mean, it could be anything. Like I've had to shovel snow, or I get a call from an old friend, or I don't know. I end up baking that day. Like she has stuff like that, and I find it very, very user friendly and very useful myself. So, okay, spiritual route said I got the 8 of Wands. Okay, interesting because my birthday is on the 8th. I missed most of your stream today. Well, we started talking about 8s, so that is quite interesting because we started with 8s. Yeah, that one of the things I was saying is you could just group the cards by number, and I used 8 as an example. So there you go. You can watch that. You can rewatch this later and see that part. So yeah, all right. So spiritual route, 8 of Wands. Let me see what I get. I have Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands. See, this is kind of a cute deck, I think. The people are cute. I like the people. Okay. So I don't know if Julia's going to pull a card. So, okay. So are there any other questions? Does anyone want to ask the cards anything? Oh, Julia got the 3 of my Swords. my example. She got the example. So there you go. There you go. So we have the Three of Swords, Eight of Wands, and the Queen of Wands. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right. So I need questions, people. I need questions. That I mean, like I said, about the material, or if you just want to ask some question. I mean, let me see if I can think of a question that I could ask. No question right now. Okay, I guess I'm thinking of a question here. I'm wanting to go on a trip with my son in July. Now, but what exactly do I want to know about this trip? Okay, Julia says, when you read, do you blend tarot and numbers? Well, I mean, I think the number it's part of it. So I don't see it so much as a blending, but as that's a feature of it. Let's put it that way. Like, you know, like your car is blue. So it's like I'm not blending blue with the car. It's just that is a feature of the car, is that it's blue. Does that make sense? It's a feature. That's kind of why I was like bringing up the playing cards, because I'm like, yeah, that's a feature of both playing cards and tarot cards. Okay, Spiritual Route says, I have a possibility of being published in August in an ebook. How will that go? Impact on readers. Okay, so okay, so let me see. All right, so I guess I could make the question, if you get published in August, what will be the impact on readers? Because there's kind of more than one question in there. Okay, so all right, so let's do Spiritual Routes ebook question. I need to switch cameras. Switch cameras. Okay, you can. All right. Okay, let me just double check the microphone on UCam if I can find it. But I don't see it. Where did it go? I don't know where it is. That's weird. I don't know where it is. That's weird. My UCam has disappeared. Okay, Julia says the mic is good. I hope it's right. I don't know where the UCam went. It disappeared. Very weird. But it's obviously it's operating. Okay, so we're talking about Spiritual Routes. Okay, so if Spiritual Route gets published in August, what will the impact be on readers? All right. Okay, Spiritual Route getting published. What's the impact? Okay, so we got the Four of Swords, we've got the Sun, and we've got the Six of Swords. I thought about I'm like, should I just pull all the numbered cards out and pull everything, leave everything else out? But not now. I'll just deal with it. I can always put more cards over it if I want to. Okay, so what we're looking at here is what you know, what you don't know, and the advice. Okay. So if we just look at it just from like what's on the four corners method, like what's happening on the cards, like we've got swords going like this, and we've got swords going like this, and then we've got the sun in the middle. So just from that alone, we're going from things kind of going in opposite directions. Like there's different, they're coming together, but nevertheless things are in opposite directions. You see what I'm saying? Because we have like two going this way, two going that way. It's like they all come together in a group, but they are facing opposite directions. So that's what you know. And the advice here is get it all moving in one direction. What you don't know here is the sun, and let's look at the numbers. The sun is number 19, right? So 9 and 1 is 10, or there's a 9 and a 1 in the number, however you want to look at that. So I would say what you know is yeah, you've got a couple different ideas that you've been able to knit together, is what I want to say about this, what you know. What you don't know is that I feel like this, like, since this is the 9 and a 1 and it makes a 10, it's like progress happens. You're already kind of at the end. You're almost done. It's like it's almost happening, And I would say just with the sun, it's like, okay, I feel like it will be published in August. Like that's too perfect there. And then the advice, like I said, is the six of swords. So if you can possibly clean it, like if you can clean it up, like okay, I should take my own advice, and instead of having 6 or 7 different topics in a presentation, I should just get it all pointed one way. Just point it all in one way, and not be doing this stuff. Even though it goes together, it's better if it goes like this. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's that one. Okay, then you can spiritual route. You can tell me what you think in the comments, but that's kind of, I also, you can look at it like I was saying, like, what's the energy? This is what this presentation was supposed to be about, like helping you figure out what's the general energy around a 4, what's the general energy around 6. 6. Those are even, right? Those are both even, so they're both receptive. They're both receptive. So, yeah, so like it's kind of like, receptive is the way to go. Like, and I think that feeds back into that sun. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of work to be done. There's not a lot of action to be taken. It's kind of like receive what needs to be received around this project. That's what I would say with that. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. All right. So let me see. Spiritual route said yes, thank you. All right. So I was saying I had a question about, like, I want to go on a trip with my son in July. And so I'll say, okay, so this is kind of like spiritual routes question. Like, if this happens, what does he want? What do I want? And what can be accomplished is what I'm going to ask on that. So, all right. So, what does he want? What do I want? What can be accomplished? Okay, we're doing good. I'm happy that we're like pulling the number cards, and then there's one other one that's just kind of there. or whatever. So I'm not like pulling 3 major arcanas or something, but I think this helps just to illustrate my point. That's why I'm saying that. Okay, so we've got an even, we've got an odd, we've got a page. So, okay, so, all right, so he wants the 6 of cups, okay? I want the 9 of cups. So, first of all, or this is what can be accomplished, sorry. This is what I want, this is what can be accomplished. Okay, so what he wants and what can be accomplished match, you know, because they're the same suit. They're the same suit. You know, he wants to receive some kind of experience around the cups. So, like, you know, the cups is like enjoyable, going with the flow, ease, connection, you know, all that kind of stuff. What I want, I'm showing up as the Page of Pentacles. So, so the pages, you know, I guess, okay, if we're going to do numbers, then the page is the 11, which I mentioned earlier in the presentation. I said if you needed to or wanted to number the royal cards, you can make page 11, knight 12, queen 13, king 14. So let's just pretend this page is an 11, which would make him a 2, because I'm gonna reduce it to a 1 through 9 number. So the 2 is receptive, and it's receptive of pentacles, which are material things, support, you know, stuff you can put your hands on, stuff you can experience, stuff that's concrete. And so, yeah, so what I want is to receive some concrete something, some some material benefits, some, you know, it's interesting because there's these little houses here. I'm always looking for this. That's really true. I think that's what this, like, I'm always like scouting around, like, where am I going to move? I think that's what this is about. So that's what I want. What can be accomplished is the 9 of cups, and so that's at the end of the cycle, right? If we're doing it sequentially, like the 6 is in the middle, the 9 is at the end, and so yeah, it can, you know, we can. What can be accomplished is receiving a lot of enjoyment, a lot of relaxation, a lot of going with the flow, a lot of connection, etc., etc. So that's what I would say about my question. Okay. Spiritual route says is I'm leaving different ideas to all go in the same goal, one unified message. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. Okay. So what do you think of this deck? What do you guys think of this deck? Waiting for an answer. No answer. What do you think of the deck? I usually have a black and white deck. I just like to have it because sometimes it's just, I don't know, you're just in a mood where it's just like, I just want something like really clear or really black and white, you know. So I like to have a black and white deck. And like I said, I like the people on this one. I don't know, the people are fun for some reason on this. I just like the people. Okay. All right. So last call for questions of any sort. Let me. All right. Last call for questions. Let me see where my microphone is. Okay. So it looks like it's right. Okay. Spiritual Route said, I'm still getting familiar with Rider Waite. I like colors. Julia says, I still need pictures for help, but we'll learn to work with pip cards eventually. Oh yeah, I mean, totally. Like I said, I just picked this deck just because it didn't have pictures on the number cards. That way we could focus in on, okay, this is the number 5. This is the number 2. What do we know about the number 2? What do we know about the number 5? Or what do we think we know about the number 2 and the number 5? You know what I'm saying? So then not to get distracted by the other stuff that's there. I mean, I'm not saying you need to use something like that. It's probably better if you don't use something like that. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, I will attempt to be more focused next time, because this presentation got totally out of control presentation. Spiritual Route says, I want to make money as a speaker in the future. I wonder if that will happen. Okay. All right. Well, we could do the, let me do that question. Okay. So I've got to switch. And Julia says, are tarot numbers the same as numerology numbers? So that's what I was saying earlier, Julia. I was saying that you could look on numerology sites and see what they say about the different numbers. But the only thing is like probably what you're going to run into is that most of those numerology sites are written like from a personality perspective. So they're like, if you're a soul path 5, if you're a soul path 3, if this is a 1 year. And so it might be hard for you to get a lot out of it, because it's like I said, it's kind of personality based, not like, okay, this is the energy of 3. This is the overall energy of 3. You might get some stuff out of it. You can try it, but numbers are numbers. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Numbers are numbers. So numerology is numbers. Kabbalah is numbers. Geometry is numbers. You know what I mean? There's numbers everywhere. You come in contact with numbers all the time, and it's a little like people are a little. It's like, you know how you cannot read something, like if you see like printed words, you have to read them. You know what I mean? So when you see numbers, you have to see them. And some people are more obsessive about numbers than other people are. Some people will notice them more, or some people are always reducing numbers. Like I have a friend that's always like reducing numbers, adding, and you know what I mean? So you may or may not be one of those people, but the fact is that numbers like pervade your life. They're this like fabric of it. So it's like you just kind of have to figure out what you're going to pay attention to and what you're not going to pay attention to, I guess is what I'm saying. Okay, Julia says thank you. Okay, so spiritual route. I need to switch my camera. Okay. Oh, okay. I got a little notice and it was like, switch this for a panel, but that's still not the whole UCAN. That is so weird. Hang on, I'm looking at the settings. I don't know. I still can't see the microphone part. It's so weird. Oh, full mode. It says full mode. Okay. Okay, I'm on the right microphone. I confirmed it. My gosh, I must have closed that, or I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Okay, so spiritual route wants to make money as a speaker in the future. She wonders if that. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do one card for spiritual route, one card for the obstacle, and one card for the advice. And so, all right. So spiritual route, the obstacle, the advice. Okay, so in this case, we only got one number card, but we can use numbers over here. And I can always lay more on top. Okay, so spiritual route, you're showing up as the Queen of Pentacles. See, look at this. Is this not, that's so cute. I don't know. I just love these people. It's adorable, adorable. Okay, the Queen, you're showing up as the Queen of Pentacles. So the Queen is a 13. 13, which reduces to a 4. And then the obstacle is the Moon, which is 18, which reduces to a 9. And then what did I say? The advice. The advice is the 10 of Cups. So that's a 10. All right. So we've got, where did I say? A 4, a 9, and 10. It's basically how it's working out. Okay. All right. So you as a 4, that's like stable, grounded, reliable, resourced. Yes, good skill set, all of that kind of stuff around the Queen, the Queen of Pentacles, and that has that 4 stability energy. The obstacle here is the Moon, which is so that's working, is functioning as a 9. The obstacle is, I will have to put, I think I'll have to put another card on that. I'm not sure. And then the advice is the 10 of Cups. So the 10s, as I was saying, is it's that point, it's like kind of that point of suspension where the pendulum swings like this and it hits the end, and it's like it pauses a minute before it swings back the other way. So it's like, you know, it's like your cups are full. It's like you're in a point of suspension before you swing the other way. So it's kind of like, I feel like it's like kind of like, you know, enjoy it while you have it. Enjoy what you have in the moment before you move on to something else. But let me do another card on the obstacle. We ended up with the Horseman of Wands. So that is a 12, which is a 3. So so that's connecting this to the 3 of Wands. So the 3 is dynamic. It's pretty dynamic. And it's active. So like these were both receptive, right? Because I said this was a 4, this is 10. That's even, so that's receptive. So you have to be active to get over the obstacle with Wands energy, which is also very active, very extroverted, outward focused. So that's the thing, is it's like I feel like it's like you're in a good position here, and it's like, I think what it's saying is like you should enjoy the moment while you have it before you have to like push to something else, which would be doing the speaking. That's what I see there. Okay. Juliet, no, I am not reading right to left. So this is let me get off here. Yeah, this is what things that drive me crazy is like, okay, so did it switch Was it okay before and then it switched, or was it always that way? Because I'm looking at my UCAM thing and it is backwards and I can flip it. I don't, it's not, why is it not flipping? Why are you not flipping? I have no idea. So weird. And see, and what's weird is like, I've done this before where it's like the one camera will be flipped and so I flip it, but then it's like Zoom flips it again. And so then I'm like, it's like, I never know. Julia said it was always like that. Okay. All right. So, well, I mean, we're at the end, but for next one, I'll check in at the beginning and I'll be like, this is right, this is left. And we'll make sure it's not flipped. Yeah. Because no, I mean, you could try to read right to left and it would be like, it would be flipping your brain. And that might do something. That might do something to do it that way. It's because we always read left to right. But if you flip it the other way, it's kind of like writing with your left hand. That might work. So yeah. So that's that. Yeah. All right. So thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you. You can put in the comments like of all the stuff I went over, like if there's something that you're interested in to diving into more, just put it in the comments so that I know where to go. Or if there's something I didn't talk about that you want to talk about, put it in the comments. So I know what to make these about next time. I don't even know what the next one's going to be. I'm trying to get better about like kind of playing these out better, but so far it's not happening. But I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying. But yeah, give me feedback and let me know what you want to know about, and we'll do that next time. So